showtime. A girl like you.
There are some movies you watch because they're great, there are some movies you watch because they're important, and then there are some movies you watch because the second they come on the screen, you're transported right back to a certain time in your life. For a whole generation of people, House Party is one of those movies. Released in 1990, House Party gave us Kid and Play, the legendary dance battle, unforgettable characters, Martin Lawrence before he became a television and movie superstar, Robin Harris doing what Robin Harris did best, and a soundtrack that particularly makes you want to get up and start dancing in your living room. But here's the thing. House Party wasn't just a fun movie about teenagers trying to get to a party. It was something much bigger. It was a snapshot of black youth culture at the end of the 1980s and the beginning of the 1990s. It was hip-hop, it was fashion, it was dancing, it was comedy, it was music, it was family, it was neighborhood life. And most importantly, it was black kids getting to be kids. So today we're going back to 1990 and talking about the making of House Party, the rise of Kid and Play, the cultural importance of this movie, and why more than 3 decades later, this party is still going strong. Before Kid and Play were movie stars, before Martin Lawrence was Martin Lawrence, and before House Party became a classic, there was a young filmmaker named Reginald Hudlin. Hudlin was a student at Harvard University, and he created a short film called House Party as a student project in 1983. The basic idea was simple. A young black teenager wants to sneak out of the house and go to a party. That's it. But Hudlin understood something important. You didn't need some giant Hollywood adventure to tell a compelling story. Sometimes the biggest adventure in a teenager's life is simply trying to get out of the house without your parents finding out. And that's one of the reasons House Party feels so authentic. The movie wasn't trying to convince us that these characters live in some fantasy version of Black America. They live in a neighborhood. They go to school. They get in trouble. Their parents are on them. They flirt, they dance, they argue, they joke. They try to impress girls. They try to impress each other. Basically, they're teenagers. Hudlin's short film eventually attracted enough attention that it became the basis for the feature film. And this is where the story gets really interesting. New Line Cinema took a chance on this young filmmaker and gave him a relatively small budget of around $2.5 million. Think about it. Today, Hollywood spends that much money wondering what kind of sandwich to put in a superhero movie. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but $2.5 million was still a very modest budget for a theatrical movie. And Hudlin had to make it work. He did. The movie eventually made more than $26 million at the box office. That's more than 10 times its production budget. Not bad for a movie that started as a college project. And House Party even premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, where Hudlin received a Filmmaker's Trophy and cinematographer Peter Deming won the Cinematography Award. That's a pretty incredible journey. Harvard student film, to Sundance, to the theatrical release, to cult classic, to the National Film Registry, and we'll get back to that last part later. Now let's talk about the two people who made the movie what it is. Kid and Play, Christopher Reeve and Christopher Martin, otherwise known as Kid and Play. Before House Party, they were already making noise in hip-hop. The duo came out of the New York hip-hop scene and became known for their energetic performances, clean-cut image, humor, fashion, and of course, those haircuts. I mean, come on now. Kid's hair wasn't a hairstyle, that was architecture. But seriously, Kid and Play represented a side of hip-hop that doesn't always get enough attention today. They were fun, they were colorful, they were playful, and they weren't afraid to be goofy. That mattered. Because hip-hop was evolving rapidly during this period. You had artists talking about politics, you had artists talking about poverty, you had artists talking about violence, you had artists talking about the street life, and all of that was important. But Kid and Play reminded people that hip-hop could also simply be fun. You could rap, you could dance, you could dress colorful, you could make people laugh, you could bring your whole family into the room, and you could still be cool. According to AllMusic, the duo's rise was helped by the producer Herbie Love Bug Azor, who helped shape their music and image. Their debut album, Too Hype, eventually went platinum. So when they arrived at House Party, they weren't random musicians Hollywood had pulled off the street. They already had an identity, they already had fans, they already had chemistry, and that chemistry became the heart of the movie.
You enjoying yourself or what, my brother?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yo, I've known you for too long. What's that look in your eye? Who you scheming on, Sydney or Shireen?
You know, actually, I kind of have my eye on
Sydney. Sydney's the one for you. I'm scooping Shireen.
One of the smartest things about House Party is that Kid and Play don't feel like actors pretending to be rappers. They feel like two friends because they basically are. Their relationship is the engine of the movie. Kid is the guy who desperately wants to go to the party. Play is the guy throwing the party. And everybody watching understands exactly what Kid is going through. Because we've all had that friend. You know that friend, the one that says, "Come on, your parents ain't gonna find out." And then suddenly you're climbing out the window at midnight. And that's when you realize this was a terrible plan. Kid's night get even worse because his father catches him after a fight at school and grounds him. So now the party becomes forbidden. And what happens when you tell a teenager they can't go somewhere? They become absolutely determined to go there. That's just science.
Stab, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. No, don't get up, don't get up. I'll get you another milk, okay? I'll pay for it myself, okay? You need a milk? I can get you one.
If I was you, I'd kick his fucking ass.
And then we have one of the movie's secret weapons, Robin Harris, Pop, Kid's father. Robin Harris was a legendary comedian, and his presence gives the movie something incredibly important: adults. Not cartoon adults, not generic movie parents, actual parents. Parents who are funny, parents who are strict, parents who embarrass their children, parents who love their children, parents who know exactly what the kids are trying to get away with. And the relationship between Kid and Pop gives the movie an emotional center, because beneath all the jokes, Pop isn't trying to ruin Kid's life. He's trying to protect his son. And that's one of the things that makes House Party feel different from a lot of teen comedies. The adults aren't completely disconnected from the kids. They're part of the community. They know the neighborhood, they know the families, and they're watching, even when the kids don't realize it.
My father said, stay your ass at home. You must stay your ass at home. With that fire, I'm gonna kill him. My boy here. No, sir. Who's he? You know who he is. He in there? No. I'll be ashamed of yourself.
Now let's talk about another reason this movie is iconic. Martin Lawrence. If you only know Martin Lawrence from Martin, Bad Boys, Blue Streak, Big Mama's House, or his later career, go back and watch him in House Party. Because this is Martin Lawrence before Martin Lawrence became a household name. He plays Bilal, and he absolutely still sings. You can see the comedian developing right in front of you. The facial expressions, the timing, the confidence, the attitude, the unmistakable Martin Lawrence energy. And that's another thing that makes House Party so special. It caught several performers right before they became much bigger stars. Tisha Campbell is here, AJ Johnson is here, John Witherspoon is here, Robin Harris is here. And then you got Full Force bringing their larger-than-life energy into the movie. This wasn't simply a cast. It was almost a preview of what black entertainment was about to become in the 1990s. Okay, let's get to the main event, the party. Because if you've seen House Party, you already know this party is ridiculous in the best way possible. The house fills up, the music gets louder, people are dancing, people are showing off, people are arguing. People are trying to get into the party. People are trying to get out the party. And somehow, everything feels completely believable. That's the magic. The party doesn't feel like a Hollywood party. It feels like somebody's actual house, and that authenticity was deliberate. The film's world isn't overly polished. It isn't trying to look expensive. It looks lived in. It looks like a neighborhood. And that helped audiences recognize themselves in it. And then we get to that scene, the dance battle. If you grew up watching this movie, you already know what I'm talking about. Kid and Play dancing, the crowd going crazy, the choreography, the energy, and then the kick step. Everybody tried it, everybody. You could be the least coordinated person on earth, didn't matter. You saw that movie and thought, I can do that. You absolutely could not, but you tried. And that's what makes the scene so powerful. It's not just choreography, it's personality, it's competition, it's performance, it's hip-hop culture translated directly onto the movie screen. The Library of Congress's own essay on House Party specifically highlights the big dance number. with Hudlin recalling it as one of the best days of his life. And there's a reason that dance continues to be recreated decades later. The movement became bigger than the movie. It became pop culture. People who weren't even born when House Party came out know that dance. That's legacy. And you cannot talk about House Party without talking about the music, because the music isn't just background noise. The music is the atmosphere. Hip-hop and R&B are woven into the entire identity of the film. The soundtrack came out through Motown in 1990 and featured a mixture of hip-hop and R&B. And that's important because when this movie came out, 1990 was an incredible moment for black music. Hip-hop was moving from the margins into the mainstream. R&B was evolving. New Jack Swing was exploding. Music videos were becoming major cultural events. And black teenagers were creating their own style. House Party captured all of that. The clothes, the sneakers, the hair, the slang, the dancing, the music, the attitude, the confidence. Watching it today is almost like opening a time capsule. When I hear that Luther, I instantly think about House Party. But here's where I think House Party becomes more important than people sometimes give it credit for. The movie showed black life without making black suffering the entire story. That's a big deal. The characters aren't defined by tragedy. They're not introduced so that the audience can feel sorry for them. They're having fun, they're falling in love, they're being annoying, they're getting grounded, they're going to parties, they're trying to impress girls, they're dancing, they're arguing with their parents. They're just living. And that's representation too. Sometimes representation means telling a story of someone overcoming an enormous obstacle, but sometimes representation means showing somebody having the time of their life. And House Party did just that. It said black teenagers can be the center of a movie. They can be funny, they can be stylish, they can be romantic, they can be ridiculous, they can dance, they can screw up, and the entire movie can revolve around their world. And there's actually more going on in House Party than the jokes and dancing. The movie touches on family, responsibility, peer pressure, police, community, and the relationships between young people and the older generations. There's a particularly interesting contrast between the freedom the kids want and the responsibility the adults expect from them. Kid wants to party, his father wants him home. That's a simple conflict, but underneath it is a universal story about growing up. Every generation thinks the generation before them doesn't understand, and every generation of parents thinks one day you'll understand why I was telling you this. And that's why the movie can still work decades later. The clothes change, the music changes, the technology changes, but teenagers trying to get around their parents, that's eternal. And we need to give Kid and Play their flowers, because for a moment in the late 80s and early 90s, these two were everywhere. Music, movies, television, fashion, dance, Saturday morning cartoons, they became characters as much as they were musicians. And that was significant because they showed another possible path for hip-hop performers. You didn't have to stay in one lane. You could be a rapper, an actor, you could be funny, you could make a family-friendly environment, you could cross over into Hollywood without abandoning your identity, and Kid and Play helped open that door. They weren't the only ones doing it, of course. Hip-hop had already been making its way into film and television, but House Party demonstrated just how naturally hip-hop culture could drive a movie. The music wasn't an accessory, the culture wasn't decoration, it was the movie. And here's the part that really tells you how seriously House Party has come to be regarded. In 2022, the Library of Congress selected House Party for preservation in the National Film Registry. If you're unfamiliar with the National Film Registry, films are selected because of the cultural, historical, or aesthetic importance. And House Party is now sitting in that company. Think about some of the movies that have been preserved. Citizen Kane, Do the Right Thing, The Godfather, Star Wars, The Wizard of Oz, and now House Party. That's not because it's the most serious movie ever. It's because American history isn't only made up of serious movies. Sometimes a movie becomes historically important because it captures a culture at a specific moment. And House Party absolutely does that. The Library of Congress describes the film as starring Kid and Play and emphasizes its place within hip-hop culture. This is a movie that preserved what a particular generation sounded like, what they wore, how they danced, how they talked, how they flirted, how they joked, how they interacted with their parents, and how hip-hop was becoming part of mainstream American culture. But let's not get too serious, because there's another reason House Party has survived. It's fun. That's it. It's fun. And sometimes we forget how valuable that is. You don't have to watch this movie because you're studying cinema. You don't have to write a dissertation about it. You could just put it on and have a good time. That's one of the reasons I think House Party has lasted. It doesn't feel like homework. It feels like hanging out with people you know. You laugh at the jokes, you recognize the characters, you remember the music. You wait for the dance battle, you quote your favorite lines, and before you know it, the movie is over. More than 35 years later, House Party has become bigger than its original theatrical run. It spawned sequels, it inspired generations of fans, its dance moves became part of pop culture, Kid and Play became icons of a particular moment in hip-hop, and the movie itself became a time capsule. But I think the biggest accomplishment of House Party is something much simpler. It made Black youth culture visible without having to explain it. It doesn't constantly stop and say, look at this important cultural moment. It simply showed the culture. And that is sometimes the most powerful thing a movie can do. So when we look back at House Party today, we shouldn't just see an old comedy from the 90s. We should see a movie that came from a Harvard student film made by a young Black filmmaker with a modest budget, featuring 2 hip-hop stars who were just beginning their movie careers, and a cast filled with people who were going to become major figures in Black entertainment. And somehow, all of those pieces come together. Kid, Play, Martin Lawrence, Robin Harris, Tisha Campbell, AJ Johnson, Full Force, Reginald Hudlin, and an entire generation of Black culture. They created something that was funny, something that was energetic, something that was authentic, and something that people could see themselves in. That's why House Party still matters. And that's why when that music comes on and Kid and Play start dancing, you already know what's about to happen. You're gonna start moving too. Even if your knees are telling you, please don't do this. Because House Party isn't just a movie, it's a memory, it's a soundtrack, it's a dance, it's a fashion statement, it's a piece of hip-hop history. And most importantly, it's a reminder that sometimes the movies that mean the most aren't the ones trying to change the world. Sometimes they're the ones that simply show us how we lived. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments. What is your favorite moment from House Party? The dance battle, Robin Harris, Martin Lawrence, the music, kids' hair, or that one scene that you and your friends used to quote nonstop? Let me know. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye.
I wouldn't do that just yet. Your ass is mine.
I can explain.
Whoop that
I
damn
can explain, really.
top fade off
Give me a
of
chance
you.
to explain.
I'm sick of your shit. I didn't work too hard and too long to let you run over me like you out of your damn mind. I didn't walk all across this damn city. Got stopped out of goddamn law.